It all started with the click of a lock. Jenna, my wife, never locked the bathroom door, but that night I heard this sound, sharp as a gunshot. The shower was running, followed by muffled voices. My stomach clenched. I should have left, but my feet were stuck to the floor. Then I saw her phone. One message shattered my 10 years of marriage. Last night was a blast, Jen. You're still on my mind. Who is this Kyle? And why is she smiling when she gets out of the shower? It was a quiet Thursday night in Seattle, the kind where the rain taps the windows like a restless ghost. When I heard it, a sharp metallic click. The bathroom door. Jenna, my wife of 10 years, never locked it. Not once in a decade. She'd laugh about it, saying, "What's the point, Jake? You've seen it all." But that night, as I shuffled past on my way to grab a beer from the kitchen, the sound stopped me cold. It wasn't just the lock. It was what came after. The shower hissed, a steady white noise, but beneath it, I caught something else. Whispers. Low, muffled, like someone trying not to be heard. My gut twisted. I froze, one hand on the wall, straining to listen. The words were too soft to catch, but the rhythm wasn't right. She wasn't talking to herself. Someone was in there with her. I should have kept walking. Should have grabbed that beer, plopped on the couch, and turned up the TV loud enough to drown out the paranoia clawing at my brain. But my feet wouldn't move. My heart slammed against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat I couldn't ignore. I pressed closer to the door, the wood cool against my palm. The whispers stopped, sudden, like a switch flipped. Then a splash. Quick, clumsy, like someone shifted too fast in the tub. Jenna never rushed her showers. She'd linger for ages, letting the steam soak in her skin, humming some off-key tune from the 90s. This wasn't her. Something was wrong. My mind raced, scrambling for an explanation. Maybe she was on the phone, Bluetooth, speaker mode, something normal. But who takes a call in a shower? And why lock the door? I stepped back, my socks silent on the hardwood, and crept to our bedroom. Her phone sat on the nightstand, screen still glowing. She hadn't locked that, at least. My hand shook as I picked it up, cold sweat prickling my neck. I didn't want to look, but I had to. The screen blinked with a single unread text. My thumb hovered, then pressed. Last night was explosive, Jen. You're still in my head. The name above it, Kyle. No last name, just Kyle. My breath caught, sharp and shallow, like I'd been sucker punched. Last night, she told me she was at a work thing. Late drinks with the team, nothing special. I'd gone to bed alone, didn't think twice. Now my world tilted, the edges blurring. Who the hell was Kyle? I scrolled up, dread pooling in my chest. The thread was short but damning. You're wild, Jen. Can't wait to see you again. Her reply. Soon. He's clueless. Clueless. Me. Jake Wilson, 32, structural engineer, husband of 10 years, clueless. My throat burned, my vision tunneled. The shower shut off, the silence deafening. I set the phone down, hands trembling, and backed toward the hall. The bathroom door creaked open, and there she was, Jenna, wrapped in a towel, hair dripping onto the carpet. She froze when she saw me, her hazel eyes narrowing. For a split second, I thought I saw something, fear, maybe, but it vanished, replaced by a scowl. What are you doing? She snapped like I caught her sneaking cookies, not hiding a secret that could shatter us. I couldn't speak. My mouth was dry, my tongue lead. I just held up her phone, the screen still lit with Kyle's words. She didn't flinch, didn't gasp. She crossed her arms, water beating on her skin, and tilted her head. You're snooping now? Her voice was ice, sharp enough to cut. I forced the words out, low and unsteady. Who's Kyle? She blinked, just once, then rolled her eyes. Oh my God, Jake, it's nothing. Some guy from work. Don't make this a thing. A thing. 10 years of marriage, trust built brick by brick, and she waved it off like I'd overreacted to a spilled coffee. Last night was explosive. I read aloud, my voice cracking. She sighed, heavy and annoyed. It was one time. Drinks got out of hand. You're seriously freaking out over this. I stared at her, this woman I'd loved since I was 22, the one I'd built a life with. House in Capitol Hill, weekend hikes, lazy Sundays, and saw a stranger. One time, she said, but the text said more. The whispers said more. The locked door screamed it. You're lying, I said, stepping closer. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't back down. You're paranoid, she shot back. Go to bed, Jake. Sleep it off. She brushed past me, towel slipping slightly, and I caught a whiff of her shampoo. Lavender, same as always. But nothing felt the same. I stood there, alone in the hall, the phone burning a hole in my hand. She thought I'd let it go. She thought wrong. The air in our Seattle house felt thick, like the rain outside had seeped through the walls and turned to lead. I stood in the hallway, Jenna's phone still in my hand, her words, "Sleep it off," echoing in my skull. She'd walked off to the bedroom like nothing happened, leaving me with Kyle's text burned into my retinas. "Last night was explosive, Jen." One time, she'd said, "A mistake," but the way she'd brush me off, that cold edge in her voice, gnawed at me. I wasn't buying it. 10 years with someone teaches you their tells. Hers was the way her left, I twitched when she lied. It hadn't twitched tonight. She wasn't nervous. She was pissed I caught her. I followed her, my footsteps heavy on the hardwood. She was in front of the dresser, towel swapped for an old Mariners t-shirt. Mine, ironically, combing her wet hair like it was any other night. "We're not done," I said, voice low but firm. She didn't turn, just met my eyes in the mirror. "Jake, you're blowing this out of proportion. It was one stupid night. Let it go." Her tone was casual, practiced, like she'd rehearsed this. I stepped closer, holding up the phone. "One night doesn't sound like can't wait to see you again." "Who's Kyle, Jenna? Tell me the truth." She sighed, tossing the comb down with a clatter. "I told you. A guy from work. We got drunk, it happened. End of story." "Bullshit." The word slipped out, sharp and raw. She froze, finally turning to face me. Her lips pressed into a thin line, but her eyes, they weren't scared. They were daring me. "You don't believe me?" she asked, crossing her arms. "No," I said, matching her stare. "I heard you in there, whispering. Who were you talking to?" For the first time, something flickered across her face. Annoyance, not guilt. "You're hearing things now? Great. Maybe you need a shrink, not a fight." She moved to push past me, but I blocked her path. "Unlock the phone," I said, holding it out. "Show me." She laughed, a short, bitter sound. "You're serious? Were you a cop now?" But I didn't budge. "If it's nothing, prove it." Her jaw clenched, and for a second, I thought she'd refuse. Then she snatched the phone, punched in the code, 4-7-2-1, our anniversary, what a joke, and shoved it back at me. "Knock yourself out." I scrolled fast, past Kyle's latest text, up through the thread. My stomach sank with every line. "Thursday at the bar was insane. You free this week?" Her reply, "He's out of town Friday. Come over." That was 2 months ago. I've been in Tacoma for a job site visit. There were more dates times flirty jabs. 3 months, not one night. I looked up, my voice barely a whisper. 3 months, Jenna?" She didn't flinch, just shrugged. "Okay, fine." It wasn't one time. "Happy now?" "Happy?" The room spun. My wife, my partner, the woman I'd planned a future with, had been screwing some guy from her office for a quarter of a year, and she acted like I caught her jaywalking. "Happy," I repeated louder. "You've been lying to my face for months, and you think I'm overreacting?" She rolled her eyes, rolled them, like I was the one being dramatic. "It's not like I'm in love with him, Jake. It's just a thing. You're still my husband." A thing. He stepped closer, towering over her 5-4 You invited him here, into our house, our bed. She didn't deny it, just stared back, defiant. "You're never around," she said, voice hardening. "Always at work, always tired." Kyle paid attention. "You didn't." The blame hit like a slap, but I didn't flinch. "So this is my fault." She smirked, a cruel little twist of her lips. "You said it, not me." Something snapped inside me. Not anger, not yet, but a cold, clear resolve. She thought I'd swallow this, yell a little, then forgive her. She thought I was predictable. "You're right," I said, voice steady. She blinked, confused. "What?" I nodded, forcing a smile that made her shift back. "You're right. I'm clueless. But not anymore." I turned, grabbed my keys from the dresser, and headed for the door. "Jake, where are you going?" she called, a hint of edge in her tone. I didn't answer, just kept walking, through the living room, past the photos of us on the wall, out to the garage. My truck roared to life, and I peeled out into the rainy night. She thought I wouldn't leave, that I'd cave like always. But as I hit the highway, her phone buzzed in my pocket, still in my hand, still unlocked. A new text from Kyle. "You free tonight?" He's clueless, right? I gripped the wheel tighter, knuckles white. She'd texted him from the shower. That's who she'd been whispering to, planning her next move, while I stood outside like an idiot. 3 months of lies, and she had the guts to call it not a big deal. My phone lit up next, Jenna calling. I let it ring, watching the city lights blur past. She'd underestimated me. Thought she could play this game and win. Fine. Let's see how she liked it when I flipped the board. I wasn't just leaving for the night. I was done. Done with her lies, her games, her smug little smirk. By the time I pulled into a motel lot off I-5, I had a plan. She wanted to act like this was nothing. I'd make it nothing for me. The motel off I-5 smelled like damp carpet and regret, but it was cheap and far enough from Seattle to feel like a clean break. I tossed Jenna's phone onto the lumpy bed, its screen still glowing with Kyle's last text. You free tonight? He's clueless, right? Clueless. That word stuck in my throat like a shard of glass. I'd been clueless for 3 months while she'd turned our life into a lie. Sneaking around, texting him from our shower, smirking at me like I was too dumb to catch on. My truck keys jangled in my hand as I paced the room, rain streaking the window like the whole damn city was crying for me. I wasn't crying. I was thinking. She thought I'd storm off, cool down, come crawling back. That's what Jake Wilson always did. Forgave, forgot, fixed it. Not this time. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone. 15 missed calls from her now, a dozen texts piling up. Jake, where are you? This is ridiculous. Just come home. You're overreacting. Overreacting. She'd banged some guy in our bed for months, and I was the one overreacting. I scrolled back to Kyle's thread, my jaw tight. The timestamps matched nights I'd worked late, weekends I crashed early. She planned it, every lie, every move. And tonight, she'd been setting up another round while I stood outside the bathroom like a fool. Something cold settled in my chest, a plan taking shape. She wanted to play me? Fine. I'd play her right back. I grabbed my laptop from the truck, logged into a 24-hour storage site, and booked a unit across town. Then I drove back to Capitol Hill in the dark, the streets slick and empty. Our house loomed ahead, lights still on, Jenna awake, probably fuming. I parked 2 blocks away, pulled my hood up, and slipped through the back alley. The spare key was still under the loose patio brick. Inside, the air was stale, her lavender shampoo lingering like a ghost. I moved fast, clothes, laptop charger, my old guitar, the coffee maker I'd bought before we met. Every piece of me I could grab went into duffels and boxes. The couch, mine from my bachelor days, stayed. She could deal with the empty space. I left her mattress, her dishes, her precious throw pillows. She'd notice what was gone soon enough. In the kitchen, I scrawled a note on a napkin with a Sharpie. You're right, it's nothing. I smirked, imagining her face when she saw it. Then I wiped her phone, factory reset, no trace of me or Kyle, and left it on the counter. My own phone I powered off, tossing it into the glove box as I hauled everything to the storage unit. By 3 a.m., I was back at the motel, a burner phone from a gas station in my pocket. I created a fake Instagram account at randomseahawk92 and followed her. Her latest story popped up, a selfie, eyes red, caption, rough night. Need a hug, playing the victim already. My pulse steadied. She had no idea I was watching. Friday morning, her posts escalated. A cryptic, I'm lost without him, with a sad emoji. Friends flooded the comments. You okay, Jen? What happened? She didn't reply, just kept the pity party rolling. I sipped burnt motel coffee, refreshing the feed. By noon, she'd called me 27 times. Voicemails piling up, her voice shifting from annoyed to frantic. Jake, pick up. Where the hell are you? This isn't funny. I didn't answer. Let her sweat. That afternoon, her story changed. A photo of my empty closet, captioned, he's gone. I can't believe it. Gone? She didn't know the half of it. I'd staged it. Left just enough to make her think I'd vanished for good. I drove to a diner in Renton, far from our usual haunts, and watched her spiral from my burner. She posted again, if anyone's seen Jake, please tell him to call me. The comments exploded. Did he leave? OMG, are you okay? She was milking it, but I caught the edge in her words. Panic. She hadn't expected this. I'd always come back before, after fights, after her snide little digs. Not now. I leaned back in the booth, the hum of the diner fading as I pictured her pacing our half-empty house, realizing she'd pushed too far. Her phone was useless. Reset. No proof of Kyle. My disappearance was her mess to explain. Then, a text hit the burner, from a number I didn't know, but the tone was hers. Jake, I know you're out there. Stop this. She found a way to track me, maybe through a friend. I grinned, typing back. Who's this? The reply was instant. Don't play dumb. Come home. Home. That word didn't mean what it used to. I didn't respond, just blocked the number. She thought she could reel me in, but I was already 10 steps ahead. This wasn't just leaving. This was disappearing, letting her drown in the chaos she'd made. I finished my coffee, paid in cash, and drove back to the motel. She wanted a game? I'd give her one she'd never forget. The motel's neon sign buzzed outside my window, a flickering pink glow cutting through the Saturday dawn. I barely slept, my burner phone buzzing all night with Jenna's texts from random numbers. Jake, this isn't funny. You're scaring me. Just talk to me. Scaring her? Good. She'd spent 3 months screwing Kyle in our bed, laughing at me behind my back. And now she was scared because I'd vanished. I refreshed her Instagram from my fake account at randomseahawk92 and saw her latest story, a shaky video of our empty living room, captioned, "He took everything." I don't know what to do. Comments poured in. Call the cops. What's wrong with him? And I smirked. She was spinning it, painting me as the bad guy. Let her try. By noon, the game shifted. A new post. Filed a missing person report. Please, if you see Jake Wilson, tell him I need him. My coffee went cold in my hand. Missing person? She'd gone to the police. I hadn't expected that. Not this fast. My truck was still registered, my real phone still off in the glove box. They'd find me eventually, but not yet. I leaned back on the stiff motel bed, running through it. She wasn't worried about me. She was covering her ass, turning this into a public drama to guilt me back. Classic Jenna. I grabbed the burner and texted a buddy from work, Mike, who owed me a favor. Tell me if cops show up asking about me. No details, just a heads up. He replied quick. You okay, man? Yeah, I shot back. Just need space. 2 hours later, Mike texted, cop just left the site. Asked where you were. Said your wife's freaking out. I nodded to myself. She'd sold it, probably cried on command, played the abandoned wife. But I wasn't hiding forever. I drove to Ballard, parked near a coffee shop, and called her sister, Emma, from the burner. Emma picked up on the second ring, voice sharp. Who's this? It's Jake, I said, keeping it low. Don't tell Jenna. A pause, then, Jesus, Jake, what's going on? She's saying you flipped out and ran off. I laughed, dry and bitter. Did she tell you why? Silence. No, Emma said finally. Just that you fought. What happened? She's been sleeping with some guy named Kyle for 3 months, I said, voice flat. In our house. I found texts, caught her planning more. She said it was nothing. Emma sucked in a breath. You're kidding. Wish I was. Check her phone. I reset it. But she's probably got backups. Ask her about Thursday nights. Emma went quiet, then muttered, that bitch. I almost smiled. Emma and Jenna were close, but Emma didn't take bullshit lightly. She's got the cops looking for you, she said. Said you're unstable, might hurt yourself. Unstable. That was rich. I'm fine, I told her. Just done. Tell her that if you want. I hung up before she could argue, my pulse steady. Step 1. Plant the seed. By evening, Jenna's Instagram exploded. A photo of us from last year, smiling at Pike Place, captioned, I just want him safe. The comments were a frenzy. He's a jerk for leaving. Stay strong, Jen. But then Emma commented, call me. Now. I refreshed, watching. No reply from Jenna, but her next story was a teary selfie. I can't do this alone. Alone, huh? I'd been alone for months, clueless while she played house with Kyle. I was about to text Emma again when the burner rang, Jenna's voice, shrill and furious. Jake, I know it's you. Stop hiding. She'd gotten the number from Emma, probably. I stayed silent, letting her rant. You think you can just disappear? The cops are on you. Everyone thinks you're crazy. Crazy, I said finally, voice calm. You told them I'm a nutcase. She faltered, then snapped. You left me with nothing. Took all your shit and ran. What else was I supposed to do? Tell the truth, I said. But you won't. You're too scared they'll see you for what you are. She laughed high and brittle. Oh, you're so noble now? You'll regret this, Jake. I'll make sure of it. The line went dead. Regret? I'd regret staying, not leaving. I tossed the burner on the bed, grabbed my keys, and headed out. Time to show my face. I drove to Emma's place in West Seattle, a tidy condo with a view of the Sound. She opened the door, eyes wide. You look like hell, she said, stepping aside. Jenna's losing it. She showed up an hour ago, screaming about you ruining her life. I stepped in, rain dripping off my jacket. She tell you about Kyle? Emma nodded, arms crossed. Yeah, I checked her iPad, text synced. 3 months, Jake. She's been lying to everyone. She handed me a beer, her face tight. I kicked her out, told her to cut the crap, or I'm done with her too. I took a sip, the cold biting my throat. She won't, I said. She's banking on pity. Emma's phone buzzed, Jenna again. She ignored it. Cops called me too. Said they're worried you're a risk. She's saying you threatened her. I froze. Threatened her? Yeah, Emma said, grim. She's twisting it, Jake. You need to watch your back. I set the beer down, mind racing. This was her counter-move. Smear me. Make me the villain. Fine. I'd end this my way. Thanks, I said, standing. Keep those texts. Might need him. She nodded, and I left, the night closing in. Jenna wanted to fight? She'd get one she couldn't win. Sunday morning broke gray and heavy over Seattle, the kind of day that mirrors a hangover you didn't earn. I'd crashed at the motel again, the burner phone silent since Jenna's last rant. Her Instagram was a war zone, friends rallying with, "You're so strong, Jen," while Emma's lone comment, "Tell the truth," sat unanswered. She'd gone quiet after I left Emma's condo, but I knew her. Silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. I showered, swapped my hoodie for a clean shirt, and drove back to Capitol Hill. Not to grovel, to end this. She turned me into a missing lunatic, told the cops I was a threat. Time to flip the board. I parked a block from our house, hers now, and walked up, hands steady. The front door swung open before I knocked. Jenna stood there, eyes puffy, hair a mess, wearing my old flannel like a prop from a sad movie. "Jake," she breathed like I'd come to save her. "You're back." Her voice cracked, but her gaze darted, calculating. "I'm not back," I said, stepping past her. The living room looked hollow without my stuff, a shell of what we'd built. She followed, arms crossed. "Then why are you here?" To gloat. I turned, meeting her stare. To finish it. "You've had your fun. Cops. Instagram, Emma. What's next?" She smirked, a flash of the real Jenna breaking through. "You think you're so smart, disappearing like that. Everyone's worried about you, not me." I nodded calm. "Yeah, I saw. Poor Jen, abandoned by her crazy husband. Worked until Emma called you out." Her smirk faded. "She's a traitor. You turned her against me." "No," I said, voice low. "You did that. 3 months with Kyle. Texts don't lie." She flinched, then recovered, stepping closer. "You're not perfect either, Jake. You checked out years ago. Work, be your bed. I was lonely. Lonely enough to screw him in our house." I shot back. She opened her mouth, closed it. For once, no excuse. I pulled out my real phone, powered on now, and opened a drafted email to a divorce lawyer. "I'm filing tomorrow. Sign or don't. I'm done." Her face twisted, panic flickering. "Wait," she said, grabbing my arm. "You can't just—" "Jake, I'm pregnant." The words hit like a brick, stopping me cold. "Pregnant?" My mind raced. Months of lies, her with Kyle. "Is it mine?" I asked, voice steady despite the churn in my gut. She hesitated, eyes glassy. "Yes, of course. Of course." That pause said everything. I pulled free, staring her down. "You're lying." Again. She shook her head, tears spilling. "I'm not. We can fix this, a baby, Jake. It's ours." Her desperation was thick, but I'd heard enough. "Test it," I said. "DNA. Now." She froze, lips trembling. "You don't trust me?" "Not for a second," I replied. "You've got Kyle's kid, don't you?" Her silence was deafening, her hands dropping to her sides. I nodded, the last piece clicking. "Thought you could trap me." "Nice try." She exploded, voice raw. "You bastard. You can't do this. I'll tell everyone you abandoned me. Left me pregnant." I smiled, cold and sharp. "Go ahead. Emma's got the texts. Cops can have him, too. Explain Kyle to them." She lunged, shoving me, but I didn't budge. "Get out," she hissed. "I already am," I said, tossing my wedding ring on the counter. It clinked, a final note. I walked to the door, her sobs echoing behind me. "You'll regret this," she screamed. I didn't look back. 2 weeks later, I was in Portland. New job, new house, a craftsman overlooking the Willamette. The divorce papers were filed, Jenna's signature shaky, but there. She'd fought, then folded when I sent her lawyer the text via Emma. Proof of her affair, her lies. The DNA test came back. Kyle's, not mine. She texted once after, "I hate you." I didn't reply. Her Instagram went private, her pity party dead. Emma called, voice soft. "She's a mess, Jake. Moved in with Mom. Kyle dumped her." I sipped a beer on my porch, the river glinting below. She'll survive, I said. Always does. I sold the Seattle house, split the cash, wired her half. She'd wanted control, thought I'd break or beg. Instead, I'd walked away, left her with nothing but her own wreckage. My phone stayed quiet now, no buzzing, no guilt trips. I leaned back, the air crisp with fall. 10 years with Jenna had been a cage, her rules, her games. Now at 32, I was free. The city hummed beyond, alive and indifferent. I didn't know what came next. Work, maybe a dog, maybe nothing for a while. But it was mine to figure out. Chiskamate, yen. Game over.